Welcome back into another PTN Extra. As always, I'm Evan Kamiko. That is Mike Irwin. Mike, we've got a lot to talk about. Basketball gets a big top 15 win last night against Vanderbilt. Doug Case also sits down with our very own Hayden Herrera. That's coming up in just a bit. Then we'll wrap up with some football and maybe a little bit of baseball talk. But let's talk about the talk of the town right now. Arkansas obliterates Vanderbilt 93-68. Mike, it feels like there's a Jekyll and Hyde kind of situation going on with Coach Cal's team. What do you make of him? It's something he said right away, I have two teams. What do you think, where's your head at after that win?
Well, he's got to continue to challenge these guys, but it is weird because the national media goes to, oh, they're great after the South Carolina game. Ooh, they're not so good after the Georgia, a lot of questions. Then the Vanderbilt game. And I've got some numbers here that will show how crazy it is. Some of these stats. Okay, let's talk about shooting percentage. In the South Carolina game, almost 60% from the floor. Unbelievable. In fact, I was seeing a stat earlier today. The top 10 shooting percentages for a game in SEC play, two of those games have been in the last 2 weeks. I mean, in these last two of the last three games.
Yeah.
So you go with almost 60% in the South Carolina game. Georgia drops to 40%. Then last night it goes back up to 57%. All right, let's talk about assists. 27 assists against South Carolina. 13 against Georgia, 25 against Vanderbilt. Turnovers, 4 against South Carolina, 17 against Georgia, 7 last night. And points off turnover, 22-2, 15-29, and then 16-6. It's just, it's night and day.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it's so much a road thing as it is a team that, in both of those losses, they were playing a team that was playing their second straight game at home and had lost the first game. You just can't, in this league, you can't lose home games. You just can't. And if you lose one, you don't want to lose the second one. And so I think in both cases, Auburn and Georgia, they were just totally fired up.
And it felt like, to your point of the Auburn and Georgia games, again, those teams are coming out and playing desperate. When Arkansas's gone on the road, they're not playing desperate enough to win, especially in some of these environments. And I love that you brought up assists. That's what caught my eye yesterday before the game was the last two split, South Carolina and Georgia. The 27 assists against the Gamecocks, 13 against Georgia. I said before the game, if Arkansas wants to win tonight, they have to get those numbers up. Cal said after that game, hey, we got to pass the ball. We're playing too much one-on-one. It's stuff we do, and then the shot clock gets down to 8-7 seconds. And our guys are still trying to play one-on-one and not move the ball. So last night, I thought the ball movement was absolutely incredible. The numbers tell you why. And again, 5 Razorbacks in double digits. The ball is moving around. Guys were making great cuts. The spacing was really good early on, and they set the tone early. But it's always the question of, is this a road problem? And I don't know if it is. I just think, to your point, this is a team that had to play two teams that were desperate because they lost before.
Those situations probably won't pop up again, so we'll see. But here's the other thing we talked about last week, which was what's going on with players on this team, not named Darius Acuff or Malik Thomas. If you don't have those two names, what is everybody else doing? Okay. In the Georgia game, everybody that didn't have those two names scored 47 points. Last night, everybody that didn't have those two names scored 71 points. This becomes a completely different team when you've got all the parts meshing.
Yeah.
So that's the real key. If they can continue to do this and get all of those points from those other players, where you're not just a two-man team and sometimes a one-man team, then I think Jimmy Dykes talked about it over and over again. When Arkansas is playing like that, who can beat them? So that looks good, but you still have to see them do it. The next road game is against Oklahoma. They play LSU at home, and not sure what's going on there with the crowd because there's going to be a snowstorm. What will that do? If I were Hunter Yurachek, I would just open the doors and let students in. Just come on in. We'll find a place for you to sit.
We can sled down all the hills and get to the game. I think that might be the easiest way to get there. But how do they find consistency, right? How do you find games where you can get 5+ guys scoring in double digits? I mean, last night he started DJ Wagner on the bench in, I believe, 84 games DJ's played in college. He started 83 of them.
Right.
So it's a big change for DJ. He ended up getting going because Cal said, I wanted DJ to run point. You had Carter, Started the game, he looked really good. Went out for a few moments while he was holding his face. Not 100% sure what happened there. We weren't exactly positive up in the press row. But still, Malik Ewan looked really good off the bench. I thought Billy Richmond played some solid minutes, and he had a block last night that I tweeted. I was like, there's no way that was a foul. It was a clean block. But where do you want to see consistency from this lineup?
Well, I think each one of them has shown at one time or another they can play at an upper level. So you can't get them all doing that, but if you can get 4 of them, and there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them.
Yeah.
So if you can get 4 of them playing well on any given night, I think you're okay. The other interesting thing was, and everybody noticed this on TV in the South Carolina game, but I don't think the media saw it because they're up kind of high. Mm-hmm. But if you remember that, there was a moment when Cal pulled Acuff out of the game, and then they had some kind of an exchange.
Yeah.
And people want to know, well, what's going on there? Are they mad at each other? Well, I don't know if he was talking about something else that happened in the game last night, or that incident in the South Carolina game, but Cal just said, look, even if he's not playing well, I'll pull him and put him on the bench. And he did. He had some games where he was turning the ball over, he wasn't running the offense right. Well, I just took a shot at it because I didn't know that nobody had talked to Cal at that point. And I just said, look, number one, I think he realizes that, you got a guy that's capable of being the player of the year, not just the freshman of the year, but the player of the year in college basketball if he ups his game some.
Yeah.
But he has to up his game some. And I think he's been pushing him to do that. Not only is that better for Arkansas in terms of winning and losing, I think it gets him maybe up into upper lottery status, which then what does that do? It helps recruiting for, which is going on right now. And then, it helps. I think it pushes the other players too. So what Cal was basically saying is, I made him mad and he played better. And so I'm going to make more of him mad. This is something that I keep stressing, and people think I say it just because I'm old. And I do admit that I go back to a time when the best coaches were the meanest coaches. And I still think Saban hadn't been out of the game that long. He's one of the meanest coaches, most demanding coaches ever in college football. And I'm not saying you can't be a nice guy and win, but the coaches that I've observed over the years, they were pretty mean. Mm-hmm. They could get really mean when they wanted to.
Bob Knight, one of those coaches who everybody knows his past and how demanding he was about his players. And I kind of like the Acuff to the Hulk analogy where he gets mad, he plays better. You got to trigger the Hulk inside of him a little bit to make him get going and to get mad and to be the guard, like you said, that could be a top 5 draft pick this upcoming season.
Yeah, and some have suggested, but if Acuff turns around and chirps back at him like he did, you got to discipline him. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
If it was a big thing and if it happened all the time, but if he's just angry, you chew him out, he's jumping back at you, that tells me that he triggered him, which is what he wanted to do.
And ultimately, all that matters is to get the win. They're really happy. Mike, anything else on basketball we want to hit before we toss out to Doug Case sitting down with our Hayden Herrera?
I just think it's going to be interesting with the LSU game. Mm-hmm. LSU's not very good. They're not. So you should be able to beat them anyway. I don't think even if there's a lot of empty seats, it's going to matter. Then you go on the road to Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a beatable team on the road. They're right down at the bottom. Mm-hmm. So beat them. Yeah. Get Porter Mosier fired. He's probably going to be fired anyway at the end of this year. Just beat him by 30 in front of their own fans, and then he's gone.
A little bit of a rivalry game coming back. I remember the game a couple years ago in Tulsa when Musk got kicked out against Porter Mosier. Oklahoma ended up winning that. Should be a fun trip to Norman. Myself and Hayden Herrera, we're going to make that trip. It's going to be exciting. But hey, speaking of Hayden, coming up after the break here on PTN Extra, he sits down with head men's track and field coach ahead of year 1 in Doug Case. We'll have that interview and more when PTN Extra returns.
Here with Doug Case, the Arkansas men's head coach of the track and field program. How does that title still sound? Is it still taking some getting used to?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's over time. Hopefully, it comes easier to me, and I just get used to it. But yeah, I'm really excited about it, and very pleased to be the head coach at Arkansas.
Now, you're not the only new head coach that has recently been introduced. Down the road, the football field, Ryan Silverfield recently announced the new head football coach, and he said he was going full change. He was changing light bulbs in the facility the first time we got there. But when I heard your introductory press conference, a word you used a lot was continuing what head coach Chris Bucknam had done. And just wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a full overhaul here, and if you really look at what we've done for the last 17 years, we've been at the top of our game, and the program's been great, and we've had national championships and won many SEC titles. So, to come in here and rewrite everything wouldn't make sense, and we didn't do that when we got here. When Coach McDonald, from what Coach McDonald had done. So, I feel like it's appropriate, and I just want to make things as easy for the team as possible, the transition, so that they really don't even feel it. And I think so far we've done a pretty good job of that.
At that press conference where Bucknam announced his retirement, you had some words and you were pretty emotional. Just what has that partnership been like these almost 2 decades, not only here but beyond?
Yeah, I mean, we coached together for 25 years or something like that, and I told everybody, he recruited me out of high school and things like that. So we'd had a relationship for so long, and he'd done a great job of being a leader for this program and every program I was in prior to that. And yeah, it was a good relationship, and we'd done some really good things.
This is not your first stint as a head coach. You were head coach at Drake University, a program that's also known for its track and field program, not to the extent of Arkansas, you could say. But this is probably a broad question, but how have things changed from being a head coach there to 2026 now?
Well, when I was at Drake, I had to really run the Drake relays, and so it had a lot of meet management to it, and things have changed now drastically with the portal and the way we recruit and all the monies that are involved nowadays. Back then it was pretty much straight track and field. You recruit your guys, you get them in, and you coach them. There's just a lot more to it nowadays than there was then, but it's still enjoyable. It's the same process. Dealing with the kids daily. That's the part I enjoy, and I think that's the part that I like to do, and I do a good job of that, I think.
You mentioned the changes that have happened. Obviously, in this NIL era, money is always a big talk. But I'm assuming, though, that you probably wouldn't have taken this position had you not gotten the assurances that, yes, Arkansas is still invested in this program.
Yeah, and Hunter and I talked about that, and obviously there's room to grow and do more with the program as the years go on, and as we figure out the way these financial situations are working out in the NCAA, and our hope is that we never drop, our standard never lowers here. We always maintain that high standard of excellence and the tradition of winning SECs, winning NCAAs, and all those things. I know that's Hunter's goal, and that's our goal too.
When you mention excellence, it's hard not to talk about Jordan Anthony. You were recently at the Bowerman Award ceremony, seeing him accept that award, not the third Razorback to win that award for the program. What did that mean, just seeing him up there getting that honor? Well,
to coach a kid like that and then to have him reach the pinnacle of what he does it was really very amazing, and I was just extremely proud of Jordan, the way he trained through the years, had some injuries the first year he was here, and that he was just wouldn't quit. I think I said I was surprised he came back a couple times, because I was pretty hard on him, to get him in shape and things. But yeah, what a great honor for him, and I think we're the only men's program that have 3 recipients of the Bowerman Award.
Yeah, quite an honor. Your program recently announced a new addition with Jelani Watkins, someone that will also be on the football team. Being from Oregon, I remember Dan Lanning and Jerry Schumacher talking about having the partnership in those recruiting. Is that similar with the new head coach Ryan Silverfield?
Absolutely. Coach Silverfield and myself, we dual recruited Jelani, and Jelani is a guy that can do both sports. He's a burner, man. He was third at the NCAA meet in the 100, and I don't know how he plays football, but he must be pretty good, or he wouldn't be here, So, but yeah, we teamed up to recruit him, and I feel like he's a kid that can come in, have immediate impact for track and field, and I hope he can do the same up with football.
Yeah, when it comes to that, a guy that has gotten points on the team points at national meets, are those the kind of pieces that slowly but surely, if you can get someone there, someone maybe in a field event, distance, that these team titles can come back to Arkansas's program?
Yeah, and we're still a very well-rounded team and a well-rounded program. We're going to have good jumpers, good sprinters, good hurdlers, good distance runners. We've got good multi-event kids. We're still that very well-rounded program that allows us to score in a lot of events. And a guy like adding Jelani to it, who's already scored at the NCAA meet, it's an impact. It's a real impact to our program. And I looked at the roster there. I think we have 14 guys who have scored at an NCAA meet, prior to this year. So it's the depth. We have really good depth. We have really good top-end kids. And at the NCAA meet, it takes that top-end athlete. You need those kids getting first, second, or third, and those points really add up quickly. And if you can score around 50 points, you got a shot to win the meet every year.
Absolutely. Just wrapped up cross-country season. You added Kel Wallace to your staff, a former Razorback. What is it like having another alumni on this program staff with you?
I mean, Cale did such a great job at Iowa State and getting that program to national prominence. And I think that I love the fact he's an alumni coming in here. He knows the way things work. He knows the way our program operates. He has those same instincts to try and win everything, including SECs. Let's win NCAAs. He has that same instinct and those same things that we obviously as a program try and do every year, year after year. So I don't think it's going to be a huge learning process with him, and he knows where to go, what to do, and how to do it. So, and I've been very impressed with him so far, him coming in and just taking the reins and leading that cross-country program and the distance runners, as he's come in. Coach Bucknam still coached cross-country this year through the semester. But, Cale's done a great job. Very impressed with him.
Yeah, I saw him at the Arkansas Invitational that you guys recently had. You've got the Razorback Invitational coming up. Fayetteville is hosting the NCAA Indoor Championships. So just an exciting time for the indoor season. What I guess hopes and expectations for the indoor season, they've got to be high.
Yeah, I think we're a really well-rounded program, and we have depth in places that we need to have depth in the distances and the sprints. And I look at it. We always score it out, believe me. We're always scoring that thing and see where we are. We haven't done it yet, but I do know we have a lot of kids that can score, and I think come time to get to the NCAA at the end of the year, indoors this year, we're going to be in that thing.
In getting to allowing Fayetteville to be on that national stage again, what will it be like seeing the best of the best at the Randall Tyson Track Center?
Even this weekend or next weekend at Razorback, you've got Oregon, Texas, Michigan, Florida State, the whole crew's coming in here, Florida. It's going to be a really good track and field meet to kind of preview a little bit, and all those teams will have a lot of people at the NCAA meet. And then we have the Tyson Invitational 2 weeks after that, which is another very high-powered super meet, and what you're trying to do that time of year is have qualifiers for that national meet, because they only take the top 16 into the national meet. So we're looking for great competition to come in here every weekend, and then we need to go against those guys. You need to get in a battle with those good teams and the good people in individual events, and kind of get tough for that NCAA meet, because it's a brawl, man. That NCAA meet's a fight.
Absolutely. You've talked about your relationship with Coach Bucknam, but just for you as a coach, what got you into coaching, and what's kept you in it so long?
I ran at Northern Iowa and Coach Buck was the head coach there, and this is how I got into coaching. It's maybe a little weird, but I was sitting in the office after I'd graduated, and Coach Bill Lawson and Coach Bucknam were in there, and they go, "What are you going to do?" And I go, "I have no idea what I'm going to do." That's exactly what I said, and they go, "Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go over and apply for grad school, and you're going to coach with us." And I go, "All right." And that's what I did. And that's literally how I got into coaching.
Wow. Yeah. And just the joy that it's brought you and kept you in the profession all these years, what has that meant to you?
Well, it's been good to me, I think. And, I enjoy working with the kids. That's the fun part, the daily out there every day, hanging with those guys and getting to know them, their personalities, and then watching them succeed that's the whole thing. That's what I really enjoy doing.
The World U20 Championships are in North America in Eugene this year. Have you had conversations with guys in your team, not just Team USA, but just everyone on your roster wanting to possibly represent their country this year?
They all want to do that, that's the great thing about a place like Arkansas. Those are the kids we recruit and the kids we want. We need them to try and make that next step and be that athlete that qualifies for Worlds, qualifies for Olympic Games and things like that. So many of our athletes will aspire to be on that team when it comes around.
Yeah, that'll be fun this summer. I did have one thing, and I see the guitar over there because you said at the introductory press conference, I'm usually not in front of a mic unless I've got a guitar. Where's your love of music come from?
I don't know. Gosh, I was playing in bars when I was like 12 years old with a band. I know. So I've just been doing it my whole life, and really enjoy it and play the guitar, the drums, and the trumpet. I can play all kinds of instruments, but yeah, the guitar is my real love, and it's just it's relaxing to me. It's something to do in the downtime, and I don't play in bands anymore. But those days are gone. I can't get in at 3 a.m. anymore. I can't take that.
So we won't see you down. Is there ever any chance we can see you down at the track with the guitar?
I don't think so. Not gonna happen.
Back here on PTN Extra, wrapping up shop. Big thanks to Doug Case for sitting down with our own Hayden Herrera back here in our PTN studios. Evan Kamiko, Mike Irwin. Names are backwards, but we don't care. You know who we are by now. Mike, let's talk some football. Ryan Silverfield's class, it seems like it's wrapping up, but you have this other side of college football where guys just keep committing. And the portal was supposed to close Friday, but guys are still committing. It's crazy. What in the world are we doing?
I don't know. I just think there are no rules. Whatever rules they make in college athletics, somebody just breaks the rule. Nate Oates is having problems in Alabama, so he just brings in a guy from the G Leagues, and they get some local court in Alabama to put a stay on a rule that says he can't do that, and then they're just counting on you. You won't fight it in court. Cal said it the other day. We need to fight them in court. Go right back at them. So that's crazy, and I don't know what's going on. We were told that you had to be at least in the portal by Friday. You could maybe sign, and Arkansas got a defensive lineman out of Ohio State on Sunday. It was announced, and I haven't seen where he enrolled, but he was supposed to enroll on Tuesday, which was yesterday. Okay, I can get that. But now, here we are later in the week, and I'm still reading stories about guys going into the portal now, which like 4 days after you were supposed to not be able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty nuts. And it's been hard because there are various rating services. 247 does this, and On3 does it, and then there's others. Sports Illustrated has one, and they're up and down, and you don't know what they're. I talked to Otis Kirk about this, and Otis said, "Look, some of these people are calling me and asking me about the players that have committed to Arkansas, so they don't know."
Yeah.
And he said, "I could tell them anything." And they just go with it. And does that make them accurate because they relied on somebody to tell them, when they don't even know whether these people, they don't know enough about them. That's what I'm saying. The only thing I'm looking at, and I've talked about this before, ESPN, and I don't like ESPN, but every once in a while they come up with a good idea. Mm-hmm. And somebody over there came up with this idea to rank these schools where you've got new coaches coming in where the old coach was fired, and you've got to solve some problems. And who did the best job of that? And they had Arkansas number 2 in the country. And they gave the reasons why, and it all made sense. And I think if you look at that, you at least have a reason to say to Razorback fans, there's some hope that this thing is not just going to be you're not going to be staying down there with 2 wins. I don't know if they're going to get 4 or 6 or whatever, but it does look like they did a good enough job. They had money to get, and they didn't just throw their money at some high-profile guys. They got about 8 guys that are considered really high, up into the highly ranked individually in the portal, but they got a whole bunch of guys that may not be ranked that high. Again, I talked to Otis about this. They went in and they found a bunch of guys that had gone to Power 4 schools, and they were 4 stars out of high school or even 5 stars, and they went to a school and got stuck behind other 4 and 5 stars, and they didn't realize they wouldn't play for maybe 2 years, and they said, I don't want to stay here that long. Mm-hmm. So they go to a school like Arkansas because they will tell you, you come in here and bust your butt, we'll put you through spring football in the summer, in the fall, and you can start here.
Yeah.
So they got 4 or 5 guys like that. And if they all pan out, you would have never gotten those players 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. They all went somewhere for a year, decided they didn't want to stay there. But if you tried to get them out of high school, you wouldn't have gotten them. Well, now you've got them here. And all you have to do now is develop them. It's not like they've been asleep. They spent the whole year redshirting, but behind some good players at a good program like Ohio State or wherever. So they come here. Now you're giving them a chance to start, and I think that is very, very encouraging to see that. I think you're going to see a solid starting lineup, but I think you're going to see a lot more depth on this team.
If there's one thing that this week has taught us in college football, it is that anything is possible. That's going to do it for this week's PTN Extra. For Mike Irwin, I'm Evan Kamiko saying thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you back here next week on PTN Extra.